Oh, do you like some more spinning action there, Toad, right there? With the nice little, headlamp on your, head right there? So I bet you're asking to yourself, you might as well able to get very dizzy afterwards. So even then, no, I'm probably not gonna do that for you. So even then, no. Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Duffy Duck here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario Galaxy 2 for the Nintendo Wii / Nintendo Wii U eShop downloadable version of the game. So, yeah, last time we did manage to able to actually just, I believe we did manage to collect even more Power Stars from the previous worlds, from Worlds 1 through 2 and 3, just because of the fact that with the Prankster Comments challenges that we did manage to recently accomplish, so even then we did manage to able to accomplish those for that particular time. So even then today for this video is the fact that we're about to be continuing exploring through World 3, and especially noticeable we're about to be exploring through the next few stages and beyond. So even then hopefully we should able to wrap things up with you know, Freezy Flake Galaxy, and after we're done with all that, then we can able to actually jump into the next 3 galaxies. So even then that way we can able to actually get these done before we're gonna get into the forms of the next world. So even then here we go back into, like, you know, Freezy Flake Galaxy. So even then let's get this thing to it. So here we go with Sherbati's Chili Reception. It might look like there's gonna be something related to, like, I have no idea what's up with this planet right here. It's like, these little two things just managed to able to actually all these quite a few. It's hard to explain about this sometimes, but even then we'll get this thing to it, shall we? So even then and the actual power-up for this particular level this time, from the very beginning this time, is the fact that now we have a rock mushroom this time, because as opposed to in you know, Bowser on Ice, and especially noticeable with the Champs, you know, skating challenge. But there is something about this, it's just the fact that I was able to actually show you something, as soon as we're able to actually just go ahead and, assuming that we need to once again find these, yellow star chips, which, just like the ones and how it does in the original game, is the fact that in order to actually just to find them, well, basically you need to able to gather and just, you know, collect these, star chips and whatnot. So even then, that's the only way we can able to actually go and continue proceeding to the actual point right there. There's a pipe right there which actually takes place in the exact same secret mission, so it doesn't really matter what missions you go for, either Bowser on Ice or especially in this level, or this mission rather. So then again, it doesn't really matter if what mission you're gonna be able to come across into, because as far as I'm aware, it might actually plays out exactly like how it did on that you know, the exact same mission as you remember from, you know, the first mission in this, this stage. So, even then, generally speaking, you probably get the gist of it. So, yeah, today we see forms of, the 12th of July, in this case in 2019. So, even then, as I probably already, noticed by this point, is the fact that recently, yesterday and Tuesday, as far as I've already mentioned about this before, I recently managed to completely done with some of these Yoshi's Woolly World videos, even though that once again I will admit though for this point folks, there's going to be another delay for the Yoshi's Woolly World videos by this point in the future though, just because of how the fact that, well, if you guys can clearly tell, I definitely need to get some of my memorization back before I'm able to actually decide to finish up with that entire Let's Play. Like, I would say, until at this point, folks, is the fact that Yoshi's Woolly World continuation Let's Play will be delayed again, but this time around, though, on September, because even then, I just want to classify for something right about now, is the fact that, well, usually kind of speaking of such, is the fact that not only by that particular point where, during the actual this weekend, that usually Pinkie Pie and Sonic are still coming back onto the forms of Super Mario Party and during the likes of it this weekend. And then especially noticeable with the next weekend, and probably the final weekend is going to be at, you know, at the very end of the month. So even then, that should make it happen. So with that being said though, the next couple of uploading recording sessions we might actually do for this point, well, not only by the forms of the continuation, and by the way, if you jump off that particular plank over there, look at that, another few of those one-up mushroom jackpots. So there's another great way to able to actually get some more of those extra lives to begin with. So even then though, you probably get the gist of it. So anyway, so let's launch ourselves onto that specific planet over there. Even then, there's not much anything else around here, I'm afraid. So even then, we should probably get this thing to it by launching ourselves down to this planet as we go. and somehow we got interrupted by that particular cutscene where, oh crap. Well, it turns out this particular planet was actually alive after all. So here's the forms of Sherberte, which basically all we need to do for this particular boss battle is the fact that we need to attack its nose. In this case, not to be more specifically, the red nose, which is kind of like the same thing for how it does it as the red nose, the red nose deer, the red nose reindeer and stuff like that. But except it's not a reindeer of any sort. Instead, it's actually some sort of oddly shaped snowman or the snowball of any sort. Again, I do apologize with the actual accent error because even then it's been you know, quite a few time, or in this case it's been about 2 days ago since actually coming back into this type, but usually I'm always able to actually go for these uploading schedules between, you know, Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays potentially. So even then, you get the idea for the solution here. So anyways though, so once you defeat him for about 3 hits apiece, and that way we should get ourselves our next glorious Power Star. And I believe, seem to say, is the fact that we actually fully conclude our Freezy Flake Galaxy. So even then, that way we can able to continue on and moving on to the next 2 galaxies. So even then, let's just get on to the forms of, I would say, first off, we need to get into, I would say by the forms of the next level to the right. Or before we get into that, however, though, there's a, another message by someone. So let's see what this actually says. It's one of those little, tutorial stuff due to these little blue star bunnies, which I'm probably not going to look it up because even then I've already explained about this basically. So even then let's get to the forms of the next stage, shall we? Such as Rolling Masterpiece Galaxy. So and it appears to be we're gonna have the returning gimmick from the forms of the original game. So here we go on to Silver Chomp Grudge Match. So even then we have ourselves the returning Star Ball sequences from the original game. So even then just like the first game, we need to hold the Wii Remote as a joystick formation. So even then, like the arcade joystick formation. So, yeah, I think it's about time to able to actually get on here. So even then, that... Oh, really? You have to force me to deal with the tutorial stuff again. Well, I've already know about that, because even then, I've already played the first game before. But even then, this is how it goes. Basically, you have to hold the actual Wii Remote upwards, like a joystick. And then, basically, just like before... You need to tilt the Wii Remote in a corresponding direction, depends on what directions you're moving at, and especially noticeable about the fact that you do have an A button to able to jump. So even then, it's a pretty nifty way to able to actually go through for the... Whoa! Okay, I'll take it then. So anyways though, basically just like in the original game as I said before, we need to go through a serious amount of obstacles along the way, and especially noticeable about the fact that once again, in order to actually get the Power Star, is the fact that we need to take the actual... Star Ball all the way to the very end of this particular obstacle. So even then but except this time around though, is the fact that we actually now have midway checkpoints as opposed to in the original game where basically every time you screw up on those particular, you know, Star Ball sequences, you can able to actually just able to restart the all the way to the very beginning of those segments, but that's not the case this time around though in Super Mario Galaxy 2, because every time you grab the checkpoint flag or anything like that, then you can able to actually continue where you left off. So even then, it was a great way to able to actually just to realize about something like that. So anyway, so let's go ahead and just launch ourselves onto that specific hole right there, so that way we can able to like blast through for that specific point right there. And let's not forget ourselves the actual comment medal. So even then thankfully though, we did manage to get it anyway. So even then we'll just go ahead and just, you know, speed things up a little bit, because we've seen these you know, saw blades ever since in Puzzle Plank Galaxy, but this time around though, we actually hop onto the Star Ball as opposed to like, well, walking on foot basically. So even then but if you think this level was over, well, we need to have ourselves a one-on-one match against with the Silver Chomp, but if you do manage to let him fall off, then the actual level itself will be finished by simply able to actually place the Star Ball into the actual hole like a golf ball, and basically that's how the level ends. I kinda wish there was actually a flag emblem around here, which, unlike any forms of how it does in the original game, where basically it does have a little bit of a flag pole or anything like that, but it does have a little bit of a flag material onto that attachment to that pole, but it's no longer a thing this time around in this game. But oh well, some things usually just manage to missing some of these details, which I always attempt to enjoy. from the first game, but oh well though, beggar cells can be choosers, I suppose. So, we got 19 common metals so far, and we got ourselves quite a few coins here. Oh, we need to go back there again. Okay, because now we can able to actually go ahead and deal with the next mission in that particular stage. Although, kind of think about it though, it's only the well, he only has like 2 power stars. See, Fernando, and once again we have ourselves this letter from this mysterious person that thanks to we can able to get ourselves 50 star bits. So thank you, unknown person, whatever you are out there. But even then, we'll find things out more details onto that whenever we get to that later portion throughout. So, anyways though, so let's hit back in here again. But of course, this time around though, we need to focusing on the Comet mission. So let's see what we have this time. Masterpiece Speed Run. So obviously, it's pretty obvious is the fact that we need to go for the entire level again. But this time around though, we have ourselves a time limit. So, self-explanatory though, really. So even then though, that hopefully though, we don't get interrupted by that little billboard tutorial sequence again, because as you can see, he's nowhere to be seen, and basically we need to just hurry things up. So even then though, I think the only major difference is, I just realized, is the fact that the actual placement of the actual paintbrushes, as far as you can see right there, are actually now in a different place this time, because as opposed to the forms of the normal mission, well, basically I always attempt to able to keep on thinking of the normal version of this particular stage. But even then though, in a Comet version anyway though, the actual layout of the paintbrushes, and especially noticeable, I just realized from a distance, we actually come across into ourselves the actual green platform over there, which is not usually there on the normal mission. So even then though, I'm guessing it was replaced due to the forms of, you know, I'm guessing it's because, well, it's need able to actually just hurry things up and stuff. I'm guessing it might be true or not, but even then, let's just go ahead and activate these, switches very, very carefully without any, even sort of like, fluke off or anything like that. So even then, let's just go ahead and just fly ourselves, or in this case, launch ourselves from here. In fact, kind of thing about it though is that this area reminds me of, you know, Rolling Green's Galaxy from the original Super Mario Galaxy, but except the fact that they are pretty much lacking with flowers this time, which very understandable because even then I just want to able to classify for such. So anyways, let's have a one-on-one fight against with the Silver Trump once again. So even then, and just like before, we need to knock him out before you continue proceeding. So even then, let's go and get into the actual ball, or the hole rather, and we are done. And basically the time stops. Which I've already mentioned about this during a couple of videos ago. So even then, there's no point for actually mentioning about this again. So even then, let's obtain the Power Star, and I think we are practically done with Rolling Masterpiece Galaxy. So, yeah, not too bad actually. Even though it might be a little bit trickier, especially later on though. But even then, to me though, it's pretty easy. So, once you figure out the actual pattern, or not so much the pattern, but it's more accurately though, the actual layout of that particular obstacles like this. So, yeah, you probably get the gist of it. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and just, go ahead and deal with, the, Start Bit Luma right here, which we now need to able to feed him for about 1,000 of those Star Bits now. So, even then, though, chances are we might able to actually just consider doing that. So, even then, though, let's go ahead and speak to him. And, of course, we do need to feed him for about 1,000 Star Bits, as I said before. And then if I manage to feed him for about 1,000 Star Bits, that way I can able to actually still got plentiful of those Star Bits until later on though. Until like in during World 4 and onwards though. So even then, but again, this is also another reason why I'm not going to able to actually use the Star Bits bank for able to actually waste some of them. Because even then, that could be very super important if you really want to go for 100% completion of this game. Which, again, I'll mention more on that whenever we get to the actual future points of this Let's Play in general. So, even then, though, you probably get the idea what I'm talking about here. So, Beat Block Galaxy is the name of this galaxy, and the mission we have here is Step to the Beep. You remember those beat blocks if you're familiar with these things ever since in Super Mario 3D Land, and especially noticeable in Super Mario 3D World. And let's not forget to mention about these things do make a return this time around though in Super Mario Maker 2. So even then though, that chances are it's all about the rhythm-based kinds of platforms like so. So even then though, that every time it starts to go flashing up like some sort of a beat rhythm, well, it's your chance to able to actually hop onto a different platform, or in this case for this matter, a different colored platform, stuff like, you know, the yellow blocks to green blocks, and you probably get the name of the actual suggestions for that particular level's gimmick as far as this is concerned. So even then, you probably get the idea for that. So anyways, let's go ahead and get ourselves a common medal right here. Well, first of all, we need to let the actual, you know, beast blocks manage to keep the thing going. So even then, you probably get the suggestions by this point. So, anyways, so let's get our extra life right there. Yeah, I have no idea why. Every time whenever you grab something like the extra life or something, the beat somehow doesn't change that often when it comes to the actual, like, the rhythm or anything like that. So even then, it's a little bit odd, but even then, that's as far as I can say about it. And of course, much like always, ever since during the forms of, I would say by the forms of in the Silver Stars in the Pond mission in Cloudy Court Galaxy, and especially noticeable with, I would say by the forms of certain missions that we've already done from the past, where basically we still need to go after those Silver Stars, and just like before, then obviously the Power Star is naturally going to be located just right up there. So even then, you just have to be very careful right here. Make sure you don't fall off, because if you do fall off, well, unless if you activate the checkpoint, then you have to redo the entire collectathon again with all these Silver Stars, which is not too bad actually, though, to me though, but it's just that for first-time players who ever experienced the actual, the beat blocks and all that stuff, well, you're gonna expect to be able to actually keep on failing at this a lot, so... Anyways, so that's it for that, and looks like we have ourselves another Prankster Comet. About time to have ourselves another Prankster Comet that is usually located at the Bowser Jr. stage in World 1. And speaking of which, have ourselves another letter, so... Racing at Wild Glide Galaxy. Don't chicken out, come on. Don't wait. Oh, sorry for a little bit of awkwardness going on right there, because I know for the fact that, well, every time I read something that's usually ridiculously small, when it comes to, like, doing the capture footage and all that stuff, I just can't simply able to read all that well. So even then, I must admit that I do apologize for that. So, we can either do, Wild Glide Galaxy, which, actually, before we get into Wild Glide Galaxy, let me just go ahead and go after those, star bits quickly. So even then, hopefully we could able to get some more during later down the road. So even then, expecting some of these more missions during later on here and there as well. So, anyways, let's head back into Wild Glide Galaxy to do, Jungle Fluzzard Race. And basically, we have to go for the exact same race all over again, but we have some competitioners, or in this case, competitors in here. So even then, stuff like the black bird and the orange bird, and especially noticeable with the red bird, and, well, I won't say there aren't any orange ones. Just try me. I'm ready anytime. I'm the best here there is. Just try me. I'll never lose a race. Let's race. Showdown, and don't think I'm some pushover. Let's go. So basically, as far as you see on screen, is the fact that we need to race against with, I would say by the forms of, like, 6 competitors or something like that, because I can definitely see about the fact that there are usually 5 birds we need to race against with, including one, which is ourselves, which is, you know, Fluzzard, alongside with Mario, of course. So even I know it has to be expected at this point. And, if you ever think about it, if you remember from, Faster Than a Speeding Penguin mission from the original game, obviously the main goal is very simple and self-explanatory, and especially noticeable with, the Boo Spirit race, or Boo Sprint race. Well, basically, you always have to aim for first place until you're able to get something like, you know, the Power Star and stuff. So, you know, it's very self-explanatory, though, for the most part, though. So, but it's not so hard in here, though, because we've already done this before, since, like, a couple of, parts ago. Well, at least expecting for part 5 and all that stuff. So even then, no. But the only thing you need to, purposely try to avoid is, of course, smack into any wall. Because just like in the forms of how it does it on Sonic 06 Mark Speed section, and especially noticeable with, Sonic Lost World in, Desert Ruin Zone Act 2, where if you smack into the wall, it's instant death, and you have to redo the entire race again. So, I lost, I'm no leader. You be our new leader, new leader gets a Power Star. You said the new leader for about 3 times, mister. I'm guessing it's because he might be a little bit more jealousy when it comes to able to, like, manage to dominate for this particular race or something. I don't know, it's kinda hard to tell, honestly. Alright, so that pretty much does it for well, would say we actually done for, well, Wild Glide Galaxy now. Well, at least for now on anyway, though, because even then, though, once again, Galaxy completed, and no star bits somehow, which is a little bit odd, mind you, so... I see you brought us back a really loud bird this time. Haha. Yeah, hear the typical song of the stars? No? Well, it's tough to hear over the yapping Jeopardy DJ. How about going over there and trying to get it to pipe down for a bit? Yeah, because I know what you mean, Lopper, because most of the time, parrots, especially noticeable on birds, always attempt to get a little bit slightly noisy every once in a while, but even then, I don't seem the point about this particular bird type wasn't that much noisy to begin with, I have to be honest with you. But either way, though, it's just a little bit of some of Lopper's coincidence or anything like that, so... Anywho though, so let's hit back into the forms of the first Bowser Jr. level, and to do with this kinds of stuff, we're about to be doing the Prankster Comet mission on that particular level, which, let's see what we have this time. We have ourselves a Fiery Fluntero speedrun, which is basically, I could assure you, we need to deal with Gobblegut for the second time, but this time around though, with a time limit. And speaking of such, actually, as the fact that not only with us, you know, shorter galaxies managed to have Prankster Comets, but also during the Bowser stages, and especially noticeable in Bowser Jr. stages to top it all off. Unlike the original game, it only has like one grand star to begin with. But in the sequel this time around, though, we have ourselves one grand star to begin with, just like the original game. But in addition with that, we now actually have, like, I would say for about 2 stars roughly, because of the fact that we can now able to actually include the Prankster Comet challenges during the actual stages between Bowser and Bowser Jr. levels. So, to make it as a whole giant replayability, which even then I do appreciate about that particular stuff, mind you. So even then you probably get the gist of it. So obviously you know how this goes. Basically it plays out exactly like the same thing for how he does it as the first time around though, but except the fact that obviously you now need to deal with him as a time limit. So even then you get like, I would say you get about 2 minutes to your disposal if your master able to accomplish like this. So, but then again, it makes it slightly tricky if you really want to keep up with the actual, you know, Gobblegut's weak spots and all that stuff. Once again, there are 6 weak spots, so every time you're able to, like, it's always the second phase I was having a hard time with, just because of how the fact that it's so easy to get hit on that second phase, because most of the time though, especially noticeable if you really want to save up some of these weak spots until later on though for this particular boss battle, he always knows that he was gonna able to do something right at me. So even then, that's a little bit of the tricky aspect about this boss fight to me though, but even then, if you manage to take down all 6 of his weak spots, then Gobblegut, he is about to be exploded until right now. So yeah, no need to able to actually see him again. Well, it wasn't until when it does have a lot of references for Gobblegut in the future Mario games. Like, for instance, there was one in Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where basically it has a track called Dragon Driftway, where basically the entrance of that particular track, it does feature the Gobblegut reference, which I think I'll say, it does look pretty cool for that respect. And also there's actually a cameo appearance of the actual reference of Gobblegut as well. Now it's the forms of Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which if you manage to get the weapon on that game, well, one of those weapons is actually based off from Gobblegut himself. So even then, there's a pretty nice little reference, I say, right there. And I think fundamentally though, we actually did manage to... Stop that, please. Okay, let's go. Son of a biscuit. I really hate my pointer right now, because I get a feeling, because of how the fact that my pointer itself is actually way higher up compared to the forms of how it normally does it back in my old house for some time. So even then, again, it's pretty new to me though. So even then, let's just go ahead and continue things on back to World 3, and I think we are practically done with some of these other missions for now. So let's jump into the forms of the second Bowser Jr. stage. We have, this time, is Bowser Jr.'s Fearsome Fleet in Bowser Jr.'s Mighty Mega Hammer. So as I said before, that not only do we able to actually completely done with the the first Bowser Jr. stage, which not only do we get ourselves the galaxy complete, but also the entire World 1 is actually fully completed. Well, for now anyway though, but then again, I'm not going to spoil things too much about it, so even then we'll save that for until later on though. So even then though, here we go on to the forms of Bowser Jr.'s fearsome fleet, where basically the majority of the level itself is basically we need to use Yoshi this whole time, because after all, that's how he can able to actually eat the bullet bills and all that stuff, which every time you eat the bullet bill, you have to do a little bit of an aiming projectile thingy right there. So even then though, just like the spiny shells from, you know, from Yoshi Star Galaxy and stuff like that. So even then though, you know, you get the idea for this point, but the biggest difference is here is the fact that you can able to use bullet bills to able to actually just go ahead and bust out these cages, and son of a... I did not expect to see that, how this will go. Oh well, we'll take a death anyway though, so... But hey, on the plus side though, we're not that far from here though, I don't think, so even then, let's try this one again. I remember that one... I remember this stage during back in about, I would say almost a decade ago right now, where basically I had a lot of, you know, frustrating moments with this particular stage, where there was that one section in particular where, if I have to guess correctly, that this level will definitely contain, you know, Hammer Bros, just like the forms of how it does it in Bowser's Lava Layer stage, and, I just remember to get a little bit more, well, frustrated with the forms of, like, getting that ridiculous knockback by, the Hammer Bro and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, that really ticks me off back in the day. But every now and then now, especially noticeable after about like 9 years later, then I managed to know what I'm doing. Oh wow, I actually realized about something, is that the actual cage itself is already busted open, so I'm guessing I have some of these cooler skills as far as I can see with the forms of that aiming bullet bill skills in some form or another, which, hey, on a plus side note, I always feel grateful for that. So anyways, let's go ahead and launch ourselves onto this, planet right here. So even then, let's go and activate the checkpoint, and, is it possible you can able to actually aim that bullet bill from that distance over there? I probably think I wouldn't think so, because even then, since then, I seem to able to actually think this is not possible. So even then, let's go ahead and just use the bullet bills to, bust out the cages open, so even then that way we could able to actually open up the switch, so that way we can able to activate those platforms like these. So, and of course these airships, segments does make a return, but it's only for like small appearances, surprisingly enough, because even then they did manage to add those a lot in the original game. So even then this is the Hammer Bro I was talking about right there, so yeah, just die right there. Yeah, because of that though, every time when I was trying to get myself the Combat Medal for my first time run through this, and I always attempt to get myself screwed over with that Hammer Bro almost near to the actual airship itself. So, but even though that does not matter though, because we did manage to bypass for that airship, and soon enough we're able to meet up with Bowser Jr. once again. So even though in this nice little cockpit right here, which, you know, similar to how Dr. Eggman used to have this, so, you know, don't you know when to quit? I'm going to enjoy taking you out from the cozy confines of my rocket cockpit. So, you want a Grand Star, do you? Well, come on, tough guy, let's see if you're any match for Mega Hammer. Oh, you really think so, Bowser Jr.? Well, bring it on. In fact, kind of thing about it though is the fact that this particular design right there, it almost inspires by that particular minigame from Mario Party 9, which is usually based off from Bowser Jr. Breakdown, which is considerably the worst boss battle minigame in Mario Party 9 in my opinion, just because that minigame is totally luck-based. Well, I will admit though right away, that design right there, from that particular Mega Hammer, it feels almost exactly similar to the ones in Mario Party 9, except the fact that in Mario Party 9, his Mega Hammer in that game was a little bit more shorter compared to this huge version on Mega Hammer right there, so at least I might as well able to give some credit for. But anyways though, so the entire battle of this Mega Hammer is very simple. Basically, we need to use the bullet bills for this entire time, in addition with Yoshi included. So that way you can able to actually reflect the actual bullet bills on this little blue spots right there. Like 2 from the front and 1 at the back. But here's the thing, you need to able to get like 6 hits at him. So if you think this boss battle was done, well, he's not done yet, because obviously his cockpit was actually his true weak spot. So even then though, all you need to do is just time your jumps and whatnot, and especially noticeable just trying to let Yoshi swallow up the actual bullet bill. And then once you're able to actually have enough breathing room to able to launch back the actual bullet bill right in front of Bowser Jr.'s glass dome, and then after every once in a while for about 2 hits or so, then the boss battle, it should be done for good. Because normally I managed to able to done this like no sweat, because I managed to beat him like so fast. Even especially noticeable that it's all about timing as well, if you really want to like hit him in a certain quicker time, but even then, no, that's why I did manage to done right there on the back portion of the Mega Hammer. So, something's worth mentioning for, but even then, no, let's launch ourselves here and get ourselves the 3rd Grand Star. And kind of think about it though, this will be the first time ever that Yoshi might actually join in the Grand Star celebration. So, who knows, that's awesome right there. Even then, that Mario did manage to hold up the Grand Star, while Yoshi at the same time did manage to able to actually hang on to the side right there, which I think is actually pretty swell. So even then, no, that's super awesome, because it reminds me of back in the Super Nintendo days, since, you know, Super Mario World and stuff like that. So, you know, a portal to the next world opened up. Yeah, because I forgot to mention that since, you know, since we actually done with World 2 and stuff. So even then, no, that was it for World 3. Well, for now on anyway. Great work, pal. That's your 3rd Grand Star. Alright, we are ready to fly through time and space. That monster is still out there somewhere. So, let's ship out to the next world, Captain. So yeah, speaking of such, let's head on to the next world in Super Mario Galaxy 2, where I believe we need to now head on to World 4. Which basically contains more galaxies and self-explanatory stuff for the most part though, so there's no need to able to explain about this. So, let's see what the environment itself actually takes place this time. This looks calm and unassuming. Even though it doesn't have those little shooting stars somehow though, so we're sure to come a long way thanks to your efforts. Let's keep this good thing going, am I right? The helm is yours, Captain. Yes, indeed, Lopper. Yes, indeed. So, I'm afraid to say for this point, guys, in fact, let's go ahead and head back onto Starship Mario, which you can only do that on that yellow spot, rather than just the actual levels themselves. So even then, you can able to take a break for a little bit. So, anyways, though, so let's go ahead and end things off here for this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play Super Mario Galaxy 2. Is the fact that we're about to be continue on and just moving on to World 4. So even then though, and hopefully some more pranks or comments along the way as well. Who knows, we're able to find things out and during that time. So even then though, see you guys next time for that. Later, fellas.